Hello and welcome everyone to French Bread's Dark Souls 3 lore run. I am French Bread, or Chris if you prefer. Well, yet again, I was in the middle of farming up some items for, reading in the lore run, and forgot about a certain event when I came back to Firelink Shrine. And in the spirit of hopefully not missing that event, I decided to just cut off farming for now and start the episode. So you'll notice we've changed up our fashion again. I may or may not continue to be doing this as frequently as I have been. This just depends on how I feel. You'll notice we've got the old broadsword back in hand again. I promise it won't be for long. It's just with this current armor setup, our great machete is just far too heavy for us to still have a decent roll. So that's what's going on there. So first things first, we're going to talk to those folks up there, and then we're going to do a bit of an item roundup, discuss some of the things that we didn't get to before, and then I will move on to the next event I want to try out. Henri and Horace. Back again.
Oh, and we meet again. We spoke before on the road of sacrifices. Henri at the store. I'm well pleased to see you safe. We reached the Cathedral of the Deep, but Aldrich's coffin was empty. The man-eater must have left for his true home. The little doll in the empty coffin told me Aldrich is said to hail from Irithyll in the Boreal Valley, an ancient fabled city. A pilgrim told me that the city lies beyond Farron Keep, and so becomes our destination. Aldrich's honest home is Irithyll in the Boreal Valley, an ancient fabled city. A pilgrim told me that the city lies beyond Farron Keep, and so becomes our destination.
As usual, not much from Horace, but that is interesting. So, Aldrich and ourselves really tried to hunt down, Henri and ourselves tried to hunt down Aldrich in the Cathedral of the Deep, but he had long since gone to his true home, Irithyll of the Boreal Valley. And it's interesting that Henri makes reference to both a small doll and also a pilgrim who told him the way to Irithyll. Who might the pilgrim be, I wonder? Something we'll have to discover as time goes on. But it is definitely time for an item roundup. So let's pop a squat here and go through what we've got. As far as regular items go, or consumables, tools is what it's called, we have a new soul to take a look at. Soul of the Deacons of the Deep. One of the Twisted Souls. After Aldrich left for the Boreal Valley, Archdeacon Royce remained in the cathedral with the high priest to keep eternal watch over their master's coffin. So I think it's pretty safe to assume then that the kind of the head hollow of the deacons and the one that we got the Archdeacon robes off of was Archdeacon Royce, maintaining vigil over Aldrich's coffin. I'm not sure if they expected him to return or if it was just a sign of their loyalty and respect. Well, it appears to be the only, unless you count down pies. Dried fecal waste material, moist on the inside. Throw at an enemy to inflict toxin buildup, but also builds up your own toxicity. Though the stench makes it difficult to carry on one's person, inflicting toxins on an enemy yields high damage over time. Perhaps some undead have fond memories of waste, or perhaps not. So yeah, it's just referring to the fact that these are a long time item. Um, some people like to use them because the, what was it, like the form of toxin it produced on the player was less severe, so it was a means of combating the more, like the real toxic status effect. If you toxined yourself with the dung pie, then you didn't have to fear the regular toxin effect as much, because this was a less severe version. It's a pretty gross concept. You get yourself covered in shit in order to not be susceptible to more intense poisons. As far as materials, we got the Blessed Gem. A gem of infused titanite, commonly known as a charm kept by saints, used in infusion to create blessed weapons. Special blessed weapons gradually restore HP and heavily damage reanimated foes. So this will get, like it says, it'll give you a small HP regen effect. It also grants faith scaling for your weapon's damage, but doesn't actually give like magic damage or lightning damage or anything like that. It just adds faith scaling to your physical damage. And theoretically it's good against reanimated foes. Unfortunately, I think it's kind of a lackluster enhancement at the end of the day. Maybe throw it on a shield if you want to stack regen, but as far as being on weapons, I'm not going to say it's not viable or anything, but it's definitely not as effective as I would have liked. And here we have the doll that Henri was just referring to. Small silverwork doll depicting a young squire. In the legendary old city of Irithyll, situated in the Boreal Valley, the Pontiff Sullivan gave this doll to valued subjects, so that they might use it to cross the barrier when they return home. Listen carefully, and you can hear it say, "Wherever you go, the moon still sets in Irithyll. Wherever you may be, Irithyll is your home." So we have another reference to Pontiff Sullivan, and now we have a fairly solid connection between the Pontiff and Aldrich. Aldrich must have been given this doll at some point by the Pontiff as a valued subject. As far as weapons go, we did get a thrall axe. A small axe used by Lothric slaves. A cunning weapon for a cunning lot. This axe is quick and deadly. So not much lore, but it has that quick step ability, which is not a bad thing, and it's not a bad little weapon. I also got the Drang hammers. Paired hammers of the Drang Knights, descendants from the land known for the legend of linking the fire. When the Drang Knights disbanded, they scattered across the lands as sellswords. They quickly became known for their shieldless, aggressive tactics that struck fear in the hearts of men. So this is one of those unique weapons, like the Warden Twin Blades, that when you two-hand it, as opposed to holding the weapon in both hands, you draw a second weapon and you're dual wielding. This is Dark Souls 3's answer to changing up the dual wield system, which, you know, there wasn't really much of any system in Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2 added the power stance system, where if you met various stat requirements and weapon category requirements, you could hold down your triangle or Y button, and you would enter a dual wielding power stance that used different moves. They've done away with power stance in 3, and instead there's just certain weapons that are dual wieldable. We talked about the Sight Bident in the last episode, so we're going to move on. to... We talked about the Pierce Shield, right? Yes, we did. We did get, before my farming was interrupted, a Cathedral Knight Great Shield. Oops. A heavy iron shield used by the Knights of the Cathedral of the Deep. The blessings of the cathedral have granted it high dark absorption. The face of this shield is decorated with the emblem of an old king of Lothric, a bold image of a great bird gazing skywards. So, the Cathedral Knights at one point in their history had a definite connection with Lothric, and it was originally a shield meant to defend against dark. Let's see, as far as new, here we go. As far as some of the new armor we got, Maiden Hood, white hood worn by traveling maidens, part of their formal attire regardless of rank. It is soft and well made, but ill-suited for battle. And this was part of the set used by Rhea of Thorland in Dark Souls 1. She was a priestess, I suppose, of the Way of White. We also picked up, and this is a very important item, Archdeacon White Crown. White crown worn by an Archdeacon of the Cathedral of the Deep, presented solely to delegates of the gods. Of the 3 Archdeacons of the Deep, one cast off his white crown and left the cathedral to stand by Aldrich. So, there were 3 Archdeacons. One of them we know was Archdeacon Royce, who we recently offed. The other one we suspect was Archdeacon Klimt, who was standing vigil over Rosaria, even after having been transformed into one of those foul man-grub creatures. And, well, we've offed him now too. That leaves the 3rd Archdeacon, who cast off his white crown and left the cathedral to stand by Aldrich. Apparently he didn't want to just stand in vigil over a coffin. He wanted to stand by his, I guess, the saint that he believed in. Let's see. Drang armor. Armor of the Drang Knights, proclaimed descendants from the land known for the legend of the linking of the fire. Fine protection that is both light and strong, having been reinforced with rare Geisteel, or Geisteel? One of those. Geisteel? The Drang Knights were once feared sellswords until treason meant descending into the abyss, and they were separated forever. So this, along with the Drang hammers, although, to be honest, I don't remember the Drang hammers from that game, are references to Dark Souls 2. Drang, I feel, is a pretty obvious shortening of Drang Lake, the land that we play out Dark Souls 2 in. And this used to be called, this particular armor set was present in that game, it was called like the Leowin or the Lelowin set. It was used by, gosh, what was his name? The High Chancellor something or other. Sorry. Like I said, I don't remember all the minute details of Dark Souls 2 as well as maybe I should, but he was a High Chancellor, aide to the king. We encounter his ghost in Drang Lake Castle, kind of mourning the state of things, and he was the one who first gave us the impression that the queen of Drang Lake, Nashandra, was not who she appeared to be. We also got Cathedral Knight Armor. Massive iron armor worn by knights serving the Cathedral of the Deep. Repulsive creatures of the deep are sure to attract the foolish, but the Cathedral Knights are prepared to meet such invaders head-on with their more than ample might. I have to agree, they have more than ample might. More than once when I began my farming of these guys, and as you've seen in some of the other videos, they've gotten close to getting the upper hand on me, if not getting the upper hand. Archdeacon Holy Garb. Holy Garb worn by an Archdeacon of the Cathedral of the Deep. a sign of the Way of the White's highest rank. Of the 3 archdeacons of the deep, one stood over Aldred's casket with the hope that he would return one day. So there we go. They were hoping that one day Aldrich would come back to them, but who cares about that? Here we go, the definitive connection that the archdeacons, or rather the deacons of the deep, were once the Way of the White, either a sect of the Way of the White, or it seems like they would have been some sort of specialized sect for holding back the horrors of the deep. But when I first started playing the game, I kept wondering, man, all of this makes me want, feel like there's some sort of connection to the Way of the White. Just the religious vestments and some of the item descriptions that were pointing towards it, but not specific. Like the deacon's robe, blessing of fire. But I didn't have the actual concrete connection to the Way of the White until I encountered this. And this garb actually goes back to explain what I was referring to a few episodes ago about why that cathedral in the undead settlement might be present, is that it was probably once a cathedral to the Way of the White before the situation with them changed in this area and ended up becoming, the central hub or loci of curses for the undead settlement with the Great Wood. And it seems like at some point either the iconography of the Cathedral of the Deep was always such as it was, maybe some of those grotesque statues were symbols of warning, or they were altered later by the Deacons of the Deep once they fell into whatever state they're in now. I hesitate to call it madness, but you never know. We also have the Armor of Thorns. Armor of Kirk, the notorious Knight of Thorns. A dense patch of thorns grows from its surface. A fitting item for the murderous Kirk, for even the simple act of rolling can damage enemies when wearing this attire. And I believe his helm says about the same. Indeed it can. The more of these armor pieces you have equipped, the more damage you'll do when you roll. There's some very, very good content that's been created on YouTube with regards to this. You can try and hunt it down if you don't know about it already. Let's see. Is that it for our armor? We got the Drang stuff, the Thorns, the Deacon stuff. Ah, okay. Looks like every piece of the Archdeacon set has different lore on it, which is super cool. Super cool of them. Archdeacon skirt. Blah 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 blah. Of the Archdeacons of the Deep, one attended to Rosaria, Mother of Rebirth, whom he deemed a goddess. And we're going to go ahead and call that Klimt. Not just... I mean, he's the only Archdeacon unconfirmed. I know we have one more that's not been named, but we know he left to serve with Aldrich. So, we have the item that calls him Archdeacon Klimt. It's got to be him, right? Plus those man-grub stabs shoot out, those magical bolts we saw, and those bolts are shaped exactly like the Saint's item. So, I mean, I don't know what more you want from me. That's got to be it, right? Not sure there's any lore on here, but these are an exploding item, an interesting item. Exploding bolts. Bolts that explode on impact. Deals area fire damage in the immediate vicinity. Due to risk of detonation, the amount of bolts the user can carry is greatly limited. These are, after all, prototypes created by the craftsman Edmund. You get what you pay for. I'll have to keep an eye out, but I think this is the only item that makes reference to this mysterious craftsman Edmund. Not necessarily an unusual thing for Soulsborne games. Thinking back about, what was it, the Crazy Izzy or whatever from Bloodborne that we hear of in maybe 1 or 2 items tops. And for rings, we've got the Deep Ring. A ring bestowed upon the deacons of the Cathedral of the Deep. Allows for attunement of additional spells. In the cathedral slumber things most terrible, and as such, the deacons require a grand narrative to ensure they do not falter in their duty. A philosophy to ward away the madness beckoned by the grotesqueries at hand. So, the deacons were seeking a grand narrative, a philosophy that would help them stay strong in the face of such terrible things, but alas, it did not work out for them that way. Alright, is that it for our item roundup? Are we all good here? Well, the items we have in our hands anyway. Hoi. We do need to speak with old Ludleth here because we got some new souls to check out.
Aha, thou returned, and a fine day it is. So,
He doesn't have anything new to say, does he?
knowest
Of course not.
I'm
Transposition time. Deep Soul. Sorcery of Archdeacon Royce and his deacons said to have been imparted to them by MacDonald of the Boreal Valley. Fire's dark soul dregs. Souls which swell from the deep pursue their target, drawn towards life. Okay, so this is one of, I think, maybe 2 or 3 spells, sorceries that is, that actually refer to the deep. And the description, at least in how they function, pursuing their target, drawn towards life, is very, very reminiscent of the description of some of the dark magics, specifically affinity, which also describes kind of seeking life or seeking others. So again, we got these weird parallels, but there does seem to be some sort of, both in the vocabulary and even like the appearance of the spells, some sort of difference between deep and abyssal or dark. Cleric's Candlestick. Candlestick used both as a sword and catalyst. Used for worship by the deacons of the deep. The deacons, under the guidance of Archdeacon MacDonald, became both clergymen and sorcerers. So there we go. There's our third archdeacon, finally named Archdeacon MacDonald, who must be the one who cast off his white crown to follow Aldrich to Irithyll. They had a tradition of being both sorcerers and clerics, which is interesting, I suppose. Now, what shall we do here?
Oh, Champion of Ash, do you wish to...
We can give her this deep Braille Divine Tome. She's not going to like it, but as long as we don't learn any of the miracles, any of the tales, really, taught by it, we're not going to put Arena onto a bad path. But if we do give it to her, we won't be able to really access any of them if we want to till much later. I'm going to give it to her.
Oh, what's this? Champion of Ash, this divine tome is forbidden. These are dark tales of things that lurk deep within men. Of course,
Okay,
only
she
the little...
says the same thing as she did with the Londor Tome. And what do we get? 2 new miracles. Deep Protection. Miracle taught to inaugurated deacons of the Cathedral of the Deep. Slightly boosts attack, damage absorption, and resistance, while also increasing stamina recovery speed. The Deep was originally a peaceful and sacred place. It became the final rest for many arborant things. This tale of the Deep offers protection for those who worship amidst those horrors. So wow, that's a very important item for dissecting the nature of the Deep. Once a peaceful and sacred place, but aberrant things came to rest there, and that's what caused it to become a place of horror. That's hard to say, right? Like, what are these aberrant things? Are they creatures such as Manus? The Four Kings? Other things that dwell in the abyss? Or is the deep referring to something completely different? It's something we're going to have to keep thinking about as we go on. Nah. Dark Miracle, taught in the Cathedral of the Deep, summons insect swarm to feast on foes. These insects, which lurk in the deep, have tiny jaws lined with fangs to tear open the skin and burrow into the flesh in the blink of an eye, causing intense bleeding. And this, by the way, is the spell that those irritating evangelists are always chucking at us from afar. Good to know that it was only a swarm of small insects burrowing into our skin, right?
You know, in my eye with it. Oh,
Nothing new there.
Have a pleasant journey, champion of Ash.
That's not the kind of journeys we go on, but thanks. Alrighty. Let's see. I don't believe Cornix has anything new to say for us. Andre ain't gonna have much to say. I don't think Yuria has anything new, but let's double check with her.
Speak thy desire, honorable Lord of Hollows. Orbeck of Vinheim.
Yeah, you don't like Orbeck.
Till we meet, may the...
Nothing new. Alright, I think that means it's time for us to move on with the next thing I wanted to do.
Ah, well met.
How indeed. I wonder if she sells anything new now that we've done a bit of work. Nope, same stuff, but we're finally going to buy this tower key.
Ashen one.
Because it is time for us to see what's going on up there. Kirk armor!
Welcome home, speak. Ashen sword.
Just checking.
What name?
I knew she had anything to say, but I just wanted to make double sure. She took damage there due to our armor of thorns, adding a damaging effect. Well, when is it supposed to fall? Anyway, let's do this. Let's use the tower key and ascend the bell tower behind Firelink Shrine. Quite a vista. I really like this particular area just for the views you can get. It's pretty incredible. Now, as you can see, we can roll down from here and get onto the roof proper. We're going to skip that for the moment. We're going to keep heading up this tower, which is just so cool with these like trees growing out of the side of it. It's covered in non-sinister roots and vines, unlike the Cathedral of the Deep. Love it. Yeah, we do remember what this key mentioned, right? The bell tower is the grave of Firekeeper's past. When a Firekeeper has served her purpose, she is led to true darkness, where she enjoys a long, deserved sleep. So this is the final resting place of Firekeepers who've served their purpose in a very Lautreckian way to say things. That's a bell, alright. Beneath it, Firekeeper soul. Kind of the emaciated corpse of a firekeeper. Eyes blotted out with tar, wax. A little bit of a reference there? I don't know. Firekeeper souls were a very important consumable in Dark Souls 1. I believe those are what allowed you to improve... I think those are what allowed you to improve the efficacy of your Estus. Soul of a firekeeper who returned from the abyss. This firekeeper preserves the bonfire and serves its champion. She is said to have soothed and accepted the dark sigil, which has tainted her soul. And yet, her soul will one day embed itself in the bosom of another firekeeper. So, a firekeeper who returned from the abyss. We heard of these legends in the dark sigil. And who might the other firekeeper be, right? Let's head back down. You!
Sorry, friend. Be more careful. By the gods, curiosity is going to kill you kittens. Some places are better left alone, you know. Oh, sorry. Am I a tad too late?
Patches, patches, patches. Have you not learned your lesson yet?
Have no fear. There's beauty in death. Besides, you're amongst your own. Plenty of company, right?
What he's referring to are the bodies of firekeepers. He's making a comment on our character's gender, since our character is female. If we were a male character, he'd say something along the lines of, "Hey, it's every man's dream to be surrounded by women, isn't it? Haha."
Oh, no matter. I'll look after things. By stripping every last trinket off your corpse, you're going to make some lucky customer very happy.
I believe that's...
Oh.
Yeah, that's all he has to say for the moment. And does not open from this side. So we have to figure out a way out of here. I mean, we could obviously just homeward bone. But, you look over the side here, you can see these coffins jutting out. We could definitely use. There's also an item here. It's a bit of a tricky jump. I may very well miss it. Let's see, this line of blocks, right? Should take us, should line us more or less. I may screw it up. If I do, we'll just have to come back and get it, but here's hoping. Ooh boy. Fired. Another firekeeper body. Let me get the firekeeper set off of it. Now we have no choice but to drop again. Take some damage, but hey, we're alright. This is a very dark area, so let's take out my torch and... Ah! Dang it. This is quite the body count, is it not? God. This is it? This is the well-deserved slumber for firekeepers? Chucked down a hole? Left to rot? You ask me, that's a pretty fucking bad deal. try our best. We already failed, but let's try our best not to tread on the dead here. I feel bad for these people. And now we unlock the door that led us back around to where we encountered asshole McKatana so long ago. Let's check out that ring we got. Estus ring. A green ring crafted from shards. Increases HP restored by Estus flask. This ring was entrusted to a certain firekeeper, but in the end she never met her champion. In the ensuing tragic farce became a favorite tale of the masses. May as well equip that ring right now because that's a pretty good deal. As for the story associated with it, firekeeper who waited for a champion that never came, I think that can refer to the fact that sorry. The fact that it's always possible for the fire not to be linked, ushering in an age of dark, but seeing as according to Dark Souls 2 things are fairly cyclical, there's always an opportunity for fire to re-emerge once again in the world. Talk more about that ring and whatever information it has a bit later. For now,
Welcome home, Ashen One. Speak thine heart's desire.
let's hand this over.
Ashen One, this is much like what lies within me. Then let it find its own place within my bosom. She will understand. We are both firekeepers after all.
The firekeeper is now able to heal the dark sigil.
Forgive me, sister. May the flames guide thy way.
So now our firekeeper is rocking 2 firekeeper souls. She's got, I guess that gives her the ability to heal the dark sigil for the low price of 54,000 souls. This is part of why we haven't leveled up too much, because I plan on this character to heal the dark sigil. And the cost for healing the dark sigil, I believe it's related to your level and the number of sigils you have. I think it costs whatever it to healing the dark sigil costs the amount of souls it would take to level up for each dark sigil you have. So we have 5 dark sigils, so the amount it takes to heal them is the amount of souls it would take for us to level up 5 times. Basically, nothing is free. You want to get rid of this, you're going to have to pay up for all those free souls you got, or free levels you got. And this is actually a big decision, because this kind of puts an end to a certain quest chain. I deliberated on this for quite a bit, but for this character, for Rani, we are going to heal the dark sigil, and we'll witness the aftermath of that choice, and then I will use a secondary character to show you the path of the dark sigil in full. But we held on to all these souls just so that we could make sure that we could do this now. The dark sigil has been healed.
Farewell, Ashen One. May the flames guide thee.
So, it's no longer in our key item list. We do not need this untrue dark ring anymore to appear human. Well, to have our human form. Now we don't have to worry about hollowing at deaths anymore or any of that. I'm gonna equip another ring, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So let's go break the news to Yuria. Maybe not the Dark Lord she was hoping for.
Thou's forsworn the Lord's mark. There is naught more to say. Farewell, our fleeting Lord. Thou's forsworn. There is
So that's it. Yuria will have nothing more to do with us, and I do believe she's going to vanish from the shrine the next time we reload it. But that's not really the last we'll hear of Londor and the people associated with Yuria. Oh, she's still here. I'm sure she'll bounce eventually. But we could kill her right now. We could offer, but I'm not going to do that. Ronnie didn't forswear the sigil just to have an excuse to murder Yuria. We'll leave that for one of our other characters. So, that's a lot of stuff that just went down. But we're finally able to press on, I believe. But I think we'll do that next time.
Very well, then hey.
What I do want to do, though, is maybe grab a few levels. Get ourselves a bit more endurance, and then start getting ourselves some strength.
Farewell, Ashen, may the flame.
Alrighty, you guys. That was, again, not one of our most action-packed episodes, but it was a pretty lore-heavy one. So I hope that was entertaining for you. I enjoyed discussing and making it. And that'll do for now. And I hope you guys will join me for the next episode. Until then, have a good one, you guys.